Okay, welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks since I've been on here. I'm very tired, so I'm just stretching. Jet lag. Basically, got back from the UK last night. I'm working from home now, and Asian time is tough. Right, but back to the matter at hand. So it's been a few weeks since I have done any videos, and been a few weeks really since I've actually done a lot of my progress, my personal development progress. But I want to focus really on the idea of no excuses. I say no excuses because I've had natural excuses, so I'm just stretching because I'm so tired. I've had excuses for we all have excuses, or reasoned excuses. They merge into one. But one of my main excuses is family. I have family commitments, family pressures, family tiredness. At the moment, for the next month, nearly a month, my family is going to be away. I'll speak to them probably most days of the week anyway, at a convenient time of the day. But it gives me some space to focus on those critical areas I've talked about in previous videos of improving my finances, on improving my health, on improving holistically my well-being. Well, that's the health bit, but also the future in terms of career and stuff. And the reason I say no excuses is because when I was away on holiday, so I keep stretching because I'm so tight. When I was on holiday, I would take some notes, because when you're away on holiday, you have a bit of space. You know, you're away from your day-to-day humdrum environment. You have different perspectives based on what you see around you, based on just clarity. Circumstances provide a bit more clarity when you speak to different people and so on. And so I started noting down different things that I can do better across those different areas. And I am going to try and have one day when I focus entirely on finance. So in other words, a weekend, one weekend day, I will just nail as many finance things as possible. Okay, that's a bit aggressive in its thinking, but that's what I want to do. Sorry, my laptop is playing up next to me. Please don't be deaf. Screen. Right. And so on the finance front, I've mentioned in the past that I've been doing the Rebel Finance School free education. I would recommend it to everybody. I was slightly skeptical, admittedly, going into it, but I have found some real value from someone who is in finance. So, I think we should all learn our blind spots. The one thing I'm targeting is to refine my existing approach to monitoring my money, my finances. So, get a bit more granular, get more clarity, so that I actually know what I'm shooting for and what I've got in front of me. Another thing to try and test myself a bit, or to gamify it in a way, is to see if there's ways in which to increase the gap. And the concept of the gap is the difference that you have at the end of the month between what you earn and what you spend. So you could be earning, for example, $10,000 a month, for example, and yet you spend 9,990. So the gap's very small. And compare that with someone who's earning 5,000 a month and spends 1,000. So their gap is bigger, and so their wealth creation environment is bigger as well, is better. So what I'm trying to do is, on one of the homeworks on the course was to try and find 10 ways. I think it was 10, maybe around 10 ways in which to improve your gap. So that means improving the money you earn, or reducing the outgoings, preferably both. I set myself a target to find 30. Will I achieve 30? I don't know. But if I start looking around for things that are being wasted then, or spent in a way that is suboptimal, at least not aligned with my values, then that could help improve my financial position. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking at. And it's easier to do some of these things, as I said, with fewer distractions. Health, yes, I need to definitely refocus on health. And I've talked about this a lot in the past. Hopefully I'll have a bit more sleep with the family away. Again, it's more my issue than theirs because they young kids, etc. But I need to look at the sleep. Even more so, I've heard of, I was in contact with friends when I was away. One friend has had a few heart issues, and he's had a few procedures. So another reason to look out for myself. And also heard about another person I used to know from university who had passed away suddenly. So again, look after the health. Health is wealth. And aside from that, also it's what can I do to improve the general value of my existence? And it's not to necessarily have something to... And when I say value, okay, I'm putting that aside from side hustles and income generation, whatever. It's more to have a more interesting life. And that's something I need to kind of consider. What could I do, for example, that allows me, when I go back to the UK next summer, to say, oh, this is my new hobby? Because people would say, so what are your hobbies? And I realise I don't really have many hobbies. And again, this is all about how can I have a better life. And so look at your own life. Do you have any hobbies? Maybe do, maybe don't. If you do have a hobby, is there a way that it can become a bigger part of your life or a more enriching part of your life? Maybe my hobby is actually, well, YouTubing of sorts. I only do these once a week. The progress towards financial independence, again, that is one of my hobbies. I suppose I could kind of codify that. So that's all part and parcel of all of this. The idea of making more out of life in the time that you have. And so finance, as I said, is going to be important, but that cannot be what I'm all about. The reality is, we all know we can live simpler, happier lives if we are focused on living a simpler, happier life. So I don't want to make money for money's sake. I don't want to be trying to keep up the Joneses without me actually knowing whether the Joneses are happy, whether they came into the money through fraud or are heavily in debt. So in other words, I should run my own race rather than focusing on others. So that's one thing I want to think about. So context for finance. Health has to be central to this, to some of this. So again, I've got to think about how I'm looking after myself now and how to improve that. And then more broadly, how to improve my spare time, general time, life. And some of that will come down to, again, I've got all this space, all this time to just go around the apartment and just throw stuff out, clutter, stuff that clutters up the apartment, distracts me from the things that I feel could add some value. Things that just noise in many ways. So it's important for me to focus on all of these little things in a way that improves existence. Because what I don't want is for the family to come back and then suddenly think, oh, I've wasted 4 weeks when I could have been more constructive. Now, within this time, I have already focused on something that's going to happen in a week's time, and I'm going off to watch the Lions rugby. So if you don't follow rugby, if you're not British or or from the Southern Hemisphere, then you might not be familiar with the rugby. It's a once every 4 years, a touring team or squad from the British, from Britain and Ireland, go to a country in the Southern Hemisphere, this time Australia, to play a group of games. That's the general sense of it. But in this context, it's more the fact that I know a number of friends or people I grew up with, school friends, are going to be going to this match in Melbourne. So I'm going for a long weekend. It's a bit of a stretch in terms of time. And again, jet lag has hit me now. It'll hit me again after this. There is a finance element to it. It costs money, but I'm spending it on something that I value, which is connection. And so I will be connecting with old friends, catching up with my best man. My best man lives in Melbourne, so I'm going to be staying at his house, him and his family. And yeah, that's how I am choosing to at least use this time wisely. So yes, this is just another step along the way to trying to improve my life in a way that is focused. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say. Again, I've got to remember some of the previous principles I've talked about, like SLAM, simplify, leverage, accelerate, multiply. Use that as a template in which to improve this time. Okay, I've talked a lot without saying a lot of advice, but all I would say is, if you have time, think about how you're living your life at the moment. Are there things that feel like they are suboptimal in terms of they're not taking you towards where you want to be? And see whether you can eliminate it or reduce it or learn to ignore it. I don't know. See how you can improve your life in the way that I hope I'm going to improve myself over the next month. So follow my journey over the next month, like and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to kind of do the same journey of self-discovery, share your ideas, share your thoughts. Tell me some things that I could be considering, because again, it's important to realize that we are not an island. We are social creatures, and so need outside inputs rather than just relying on what's going on inside there. And so that's all I've got time for today, and I need a rest, I think. I need a sleep. Okay, bye for now.